That's on my Instagram live.
Eh now. Oh, you're on
Okay.
phone. Sorry.
I'm going, yeah.
I was just like, oh.
And it's one of these days where we're having issues with but they are resolving it. So I'm sure whilst we're on though, it is so I move because I wanted to do this on my laptop, but it is what it is. I'm trying to be patient. But my people are it is what it is though.
We're all in Nigeria, we
Okay.
understand. Don't worry.
I know, right? Oh no, I know this is gonna happen.
What can I do?
I think it's your kiss.
Now we can.
Okay, we are live on YouTube and we're going live in studio. This is Smooth 98.1, your love music, love life station. We also love conversations, in case you need reminding. That is what I'm doing right now. Ayokunmi right here with you on a Tuesday morning. It is 8 minutes past 9 a.m. and we love to get talking at this time because this is Lagos Talks on the Smooth Breakfast. It is a beautiful morning and a beautiful time to have conversations, which we are going to dive into. Before I let you into what we'll be talking about this morning, just to clue you into how you can be a part of the discussion. As always, you can give us a call on 0201 4489981, 0201 4489981. You can also send messages on WhatsApp on 0809 You can also, if you can't get through on the studio line, or if it's easier for you to call on WhatsApp, or if you are in what I like to call the abroad, yes, in diaspora, you can also call on WhatsApp. The number remains the same 0809 We are also streaming live on YouTube. You can catch us at Smooth 981 FM Lagos, or if you are on your browser, it's youtube.com/ smooth 981 FM Lagos. Now, today, we're going to be diving into the first of what I like to call taboo topics. It's a Tuesday, Taboo Tuesday. I like that. Discussions that are around us, that happen around us, that occur around us, but we tend to tiptoe around, or we, turn a blind eye to. We go all bird box on because we are uncomfortable, or we're uncomfortable speaking about them. And this is going to be the first of a number of such. It's another series. I love series these days. Yes, it's an exciting thing for me. But anyways, we'll be diving into that this morning. And our first topic of discussion for today, it has to do with breaking the silence and the cultural stigmas around divorce in Nigeria. So we'll take a look at how societal expectations shape attitudes towards divorce, personal experiences of those who have been through it, and how these taboos hinder open conversations, because these things are real. They're around us. They occur. And because we have this fear of not speaking about them, they become so mysterious and they become something of legend, something that is larger than life when actually it should not be. And it robs certain people of the opportunities that they probably would have if these conversations are able to be had freely. So that is where we are this beautiful, beautiful morning. And joining me this morning, first of all, I need to say hats off to them, big ups, kudos, all the positive words, because it takes a lot of it takes a lot of, is courage the right word, openness, frankness, to actually sit down and have this conversation with me this morning. Anyways, my two amazing guests, you know them, you love them as well. Precious Imuwahen Ajoonu is joining me, as well as Aisha Adams. Very good morning to you, ladies. Great to have you on Lagos Talks once again.
Good morning. Thank you for having us back.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
Absolute pleasure. I mean, the fact that I was able to get you guys on, it means that we're going to have a very open discussion, heartfelt. Aisha is what I did there.
Yeah, I saw. You pay for that.
Okay, so it's a complex issue when we talk about divorce. It's a subject that affects many people, but it is often discussed in hushed tones or not at all. People like to just sweep on the carpet like, no, we can't talk about it. No, 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 that kind of thing. And I know that this morning we're going to be walking your paths more or less to uh, better understand where it is that you have been and how you got here and where it is that you are actually going to. Now, divorce in many traditional Nigerian societies is seen as a failure, especially for women. That is a given. Now, the pressure to keep a marriage together is very immense, regardless of how unhealthy or dysfunctional that relationship actually becomes. Now, historically, marriage has been viewed as a key social contract, binding not just the individuals, but the families and the communities as well. Everybody is involved. Now, this has led to the idea that, okay, divorce disrupts social order. I'm going to start with you, Precious, this morning. Um, could you share your thoughts on why marriage is seen as such a crucial social contract in Nigeria and how it contributes to this stigma that surrounds divorce? Mm,
And then I went and I did another course. Was that after my second degree, and then I went and I did some other course where I scored. I was the best, one of the best. Two people were the best in our country, and I was one of them in that particular course. And I remember telling my parents, and then my mom said something like, "Okay, another course. When is the husband?" Nobody was excited again that you're
mm,
still packing degrees. When are you going to get married? So there's a big married consciousness. And I cannot even say for a fact that when I was getting married the first time around, that I had thought about the construct, the history, what marriage is, and if it was even a good fit for me. These are some of the things that we don't question. But as I started to do research on marriage and the jury is out, I know that some people say the first wedding happened in the Mediterranean, but many people agree that marriage is a social construct. Our forefathers wanted to figure out how, by the time they die, who is going to own my cattle, who do I pass land to, etc., etc. And then people felt it was more comfortable to marry. Even monogamous marriages that we tend to prefer these days is also a social cause Bible for those who are Christians. And then when you move it down to Nigeria, I don't think that, and I use my words carefully, that we do a lot of thinking around why we even marry in the first place. So, like I said, for me, I was just socialized to marry. I didn't have time to even question if it was something for me or not. Every single thing you did was married, and marriage is an achievement. People cry when you get married. When you're not
mm-hmm,
married, there's some sort
mm-hmm.
of stigma to it. No, you're a
Mm-hmm.
certain age, you're not married. What's wrong with you? No man came for you. So as a woman, you almost don't feel like you're anything until you have the golden title, which is the Mrs. tag attached to your name. It's very complex.
It is very complex, and this is why we bring these issues to the fore to break it down. Let us have a better understanding. It's not about justifying this or justifying that, but we all need to understand better. It's all about knowledge and getting right information, especially experience. Experiences are also very key in these conversations. Aisha, I'll come to you in a very little bit. We'll just take a quick break. We'll come back in and I'll get your thoughts as well. Lagos, Nigeria, and the entire world. Keep it tuned to Smooth 98.1. Lagos Talks. We'll be back in a bit.
Like that was a good start. Yay!
Yay.
I had to put this on because
Please, is it loud now? Can you guys hear now?
oh, like
Ashake, can you hear it?
oh, it wasn't loud enough
No,
from
but she
here.
said, I don't know.
Oh, okay. When we get back in, I'll increase the volume because
Okay.
Chris is on Zoom. I need to put this on so as our voice comes here. To also go into the live at
Oh.
the end. I thought she was going to be here, so that's why I set up on the phone.
So I
Ashake,
also moved to
are you here
Lagos. All
now?
you Lagos people.
We are waiting for you. We are waiting for you. Come on, turn up.
No. Is there a delay though? Because it seems like it took a few seconds before you heard me the last time.
Yes, there was a delay.
Mm.
Okay, so when you say yes, you can hear KC, does it mean you can hear Precious too? I just want to be sure before we get back in.
When we get back in, I'll increase the volume here
Okay.
so that they will be able to hear in the live and
Thank you.
in the live here as well. I even forgot to mention that I'm filming with the phone now. I had to now turn it on.
No, I didn't get my glasses. I didn't come with my glasses upstairs.
What?
I didn't come with my glasses upstairs. So I can't see what is on the face for me.
Okay, you know what? Next break, I'll run down to get it for you.
Thank you.
Welcome back. This is Lagos Talks on Smooth 98.1. Your love music, love life, and of course, your love conversation station on a Tuesday morning. Ayokunmi is talking to you right here. And of course, I have two amazing guests with me in the studio talking about our topic of discussion this morning, and that is the cultural stigmas around divorce in Nigeria, breaking the silence. It is the first part of what I like to term our Taboo Tuesday topics. Yes, topics that issues that tend to happen around us, but we like to tiptoe around and stick our head in the sand, or should I say, ignore the huge elephant in the room, even though it's not something you can ignore. It's unignorable, as it were. Precious Imuwahen Ajoonu, as well as Aisha Adams, are my guests this morning. They have, graciously decided to grace us with their presence this morning on the show. Welcome once again, ladies, to the conversation. Absolute pleasure to have you, as
Thank
I
you.
mentioned before. To all our listeners out there, you can weigh in on the conversation, talk to us, let us know your experiences, or if you have stories of people who've had experiences where divorce is concerned, where it's been thought about, where it's been mooted, but because we can't talk about it, it's something that we can't talk about. Let's talk about it this morning. Yes, we are breaking all the tables, all the furniture, in fact. That's what we're doing this morning. So, WhatsApp is one way you can get to us 0809 444 0981. That is the WhatsApp number. You can send messages there. You can call as well. You can also call the studio line, which is 0201 4489 981. 0201 4489 981. Now, just before Aisha, before I get into my question for you, just to give a little bit of a backdrop here, or a segue, as it were. Now, according to a 2018 report from the National Population Commission, 75% of women in Nigeria believe that divorce should be avoided at all costs, even in the face of serious marital challenges. Now, this statistic underscores how deeply ingrained these cultural beliefs are. For many, divorce is equal to public failure, bringing shame to both the individual and to their family as well. Now, in your experience, how did this sense of societal shame manifest when you went through your own divorce?
Okay. That's like putting me in the middle. Okay. Like you put me on the spot. Thank you very much for doing that. How did it manifest? I think that just like Precious said earlier, we were socially conditioned to see that divorce was a no-go area. But I feel like the what played in my own, for me was that I had parents who sort of like modeled the kind of marriage that I was looking forward to having. And so I wasn't seeing that in my marriage, and I didn't want to live a lie, like everybody else. And like, most women, in Nigeria, based on the statistics you just quoted, I struggled with the idea of being honest with myself or what it was I was experiencing. So I lived that life for a couple of years. I lived it for 3 years, actually. And then I got up one day and I just knew that, it couldn't continue like that because of a series of events that had happened at the time. So now it's balancing between, do I continue to live the life so that people can find me worthy or
Mm.
call me a success, or do I just accept that this ship has sailed and just start afresh? And starting afresh seemed like a better option for me, and I thank God for the family that I have, the parents that I have, because they helped me to own up to my mess and
Mm.
realize that the fact that you are taking a momentary break from this does not mean that you're a failure. I do not think divorce is a failure. I feel like um what helps, how you relate with the issue is how you perceive it.
Okay.
So at first I wasn't actually feeling a certain way, to be honest. I actually felt normal until the gossip started, you know, the news spread, and then people started to come to me with all kinds of stuff. At first, I was still doing audition, I have this. I can move through this.
I can deal with this.
I can push through this. I will just ignore the market noise. That's what I kept telling myself. But then the day I broke, I think it was a person called me and told me some of the things that I hadn't been hearing that people were saying, and I was just like, is it more than this divorce, or is there something else that I have missed that happened that I'm not aware of? Because it seems like the divorce then opened the door for a lot of things to happen. So, first of all, disrespect followed. People who would never have dared to disrespect me just started to have the liver to do so,
Just because.
just because they found out. Like, they would not have dared to do that. Then I'll just look like, wake me up. And then you, who is still trying to, because it's like an imbalance, right? You're still trying to find your footing, stabilize, and you're like, okay, and this is coming. You're like, okay, let me ignore this. But then, unfortunately, the more you ignore, the more it comes, and then it keeps coming at you. And so, I think the real struggle for me personally was the other things that I did not expect. I thought I could handle it because I've had tough times in life, and I've been able to, push through. So I just thought, well, tough times happen, you just rise above it. But I feel like what really affected me was the many other things I did not see. For example, the shaming. Oh, the shaming was a lot. The stigmatization, um, people treating you like you're a disease.
Mm.
Like, divorce is not contagious. I thought about this when I was thinking about the topic yesterday. Divorce is not a disease. It's not like once I just get divorced, I'm going to just, and
Pass
then
it on.
pass it on. And then people start to hide their husbands away from you, almost as if, oh, now you're divorced, so you're just going to be hunting for every man. Like, are you joking? Like, can you be real and behave yourself like you're an adult? And you should just see things like we did when we were kids. You know how someone has something and everybody's spreading the news, and it just became wildfire. And what was again upsetting was people pretending to be, kind, when in fact they're just coming to source for extra information
Mm.
on how to have more gists in their gossip circles. I feel like those are the things that really affected me. The gossip, the shaming, especially from quarters that I did not expect it will come from. But I feel what it really did for me though was that it was a learning curve that I needed to go through to be the woman that I am now.
Hmm. Interesting thoughts here. Now, let's talk about the gendered expectations and the double standards pressures. Now, in Nigeria as a whole, women often in capital letters, they often bear the brunt of cultural stigmas when divorce is spoken about. Now, they're expected to maintain the home, to preserve the marriage, while men are often given a bit more leeway. So it's sometimes seen as a personal feeling for women, leading to this social ostracization and some of the things that Aisha also mentioned here. Now, on the other hand, men may face fewer consequences for actually leaving the marriage. I actually would have loved to have a man on this conversation, but because it is such a delicate topic, not too many people actually, not too many men actually want to, come and speak freely about it. It'd been good to get, a men's perspective or a man's experience as well. But what I've said remains a fact. When it comes to these issues, the women are seen as, even if everything fell at the doorstep of the man, it's the woman, it's her fault,
Yeah.
something she did. She's seen as the failure, even though the man is the one that had all the issues and, of course, led to everything, everything falling apart as it were. Now, Precious, from your perspective, why do you think there's this double standard when it comes to divorce in Nigeria? Do you believe men and women face different pressures?
Absolutely. I think it's rooted in culture in some ways. We have a very patriarchal culture, just as a people, where a lot of blame falls on the woman. So, for example, even childbirth, even infertility, for example, people just assume that if a couple they don't have children, there's something that the woman did, etc. So that's really why we have some of these challenges. And like you said, I really wish we could get a male perspective. And why I'm always happy to have conversations like this is for us to have these conversations, not from an adversarial point of view,
Mm,
where it's women against men, but from a conversation point of view. Because again, when a marriage breaks, it affects everybody. It affects the woman, it affects the man, it
true.
affects the children,
Mm,
and it also implication for society. Because there's this thick narrative, somewhat, and that's why you find a lot of divorced women taking care of the children. And people believe that, oh, when they're getting married or when they're older, the father can show up or the children will look for the father. But there's a place for the father in the lives of children, and there's a place for the mother in the lives of children.
right.
That's ideally what you want. But again, the blame tends to be situated on our doorsteps because we practice a very patriarchal culture. It's a man's world and we live in it. That's kind of how it is. But I'm hoping that with conversations like this, we're able to start to work our way backwards. Because the thing is, what's the point? And I tell my male friends this sometimes. What's the point of winning when you are alone in the race? A man needs a good woman, a good woman needs a good man, and if society is able to create that balance, it's better for children, it's better for society. But we still run a system where it's the woman's fault. I don't know if you've seen all the shaming that happens online, single woman. And
Mm-hmm.
like Aisha was saying, divorce is not a disease. Some people just assume that because you are divorced, it means that you are going after people's men. And sometimes I'm like, I don't want that. I genuinely don't. That's
Yeah.
not my cup of tea. So yes, I don't know if you can still hear me,
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
we
can hear
can.
but
you.
my thought would be it's the way our society is structured at the moment. That's why the blame tends to shift to the woman as opposed to us having honest conversations around divorce as it affects us all, not just the woman and her children, but even the man who is divorced as well.
Most definitely. Thank you for sharing those thoughts, Precious. Let's take another quick breather. We'll come back in. We'll continue the conversation on Lagos Talks this beautiful Tuesday morning. We'll take a look at the challenges that women face and how they differ from the ones that men also face in the face of divorce. Lagos Talks will be back in a bit. Don't go anywhere. This is Smooth 98.1. I have a minute. Okay, 1 minute. Your glasses, Abby.
Yeah, thank you.
It's in your bag. Which one of the bags?
MTN is messing me up.
Pele. But at least it's going. Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you guys for joining. What are your thoughts so far? We're on the break. On what you've heard. What do you think? Why do you think that there's so much
That's my workout for the day.
backlash? Thank you so much.
Ah,
On women when
Precious
divorce
has.
happens. Yeah, she has I think a network. much.
That's my net. That's my workout for the day done.
But I'm here because of that one.
Yeah, workout for the day.
Well,
I feel fit already.
can you imagine how you're so lazy? So lazy.
My dear sister, let me not even begin.
Thank you so much.
It's
I
what
was
we do.
just struggling to see.
I'm a nice person, apparently.
Okay.
Okay, okay. And we are back. Lagos Talks on Smooth 98.1. Your Love Music Love Live station. It is 32 minutes past 9 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. My name is Ayokunmi, and my special guests are in on the conversation with me this morning, Aishah Adams and Precious Imuwahen Ajoonu. We are looking at the cultural stigma surrounding divorce in Nigeria. Yes, it is one of those conversations, those topics that we don't like to talk about, that we avoid, that we stick our heads in the sand or in the cement, as it were,
Mm.
when it comes up. So we are bringing it to the fore this morning. We are scattering all the furniture, not just the tables, and we are talking about it. Yes, you can also join us to talk about this as well. 0809 is the WhatsApp number. You can send messages there. You can also call as well if that's convenient for you. You can also call the studio line, which is 0201 And it seems like we have a call coming in. Let's take this one. Hello, good morning. Very good morning to you.
The house. Soji speaking.
Welcome, Soji.
Thank you. The topic this morning is a very sensitive topic.
Mm.
And everything depends on the way to view it. And looking at our listening to guests, your guests, they have actually spoken their mind. But then again, you have got to bring in other people or some other guests that have made their marriage to work, not on the aspect of another one.
But we're talking about we're not talking about marriages that work. We're talking about the issue of divorce itself, not marriages that
Yes,
actually work. That's not the issue
yes,
on ground.
yes. That is where I'm going. All these things depend on three factors:
Okay.
the lady, the wife, the wife, the husband, then the family of the spouses, not bringing in because the children are aftermath divorce. But for the marriage to, I have just seen concerning the houses and their families because I can look at my own case. I'm very happy that God helping they have allowed marriage to work. My spouse, that's my wife,
Mm.
and my family, and my marriage is working because definitely each and every one of us have an endurance and a stretch for us to the marriage work. If we want to work, can easily do it. But then to listen to influence from afar, from outside, because this also affects our marriage. We can make our marriage and God willing, according to my own faith, that is the Bible. We can easily look into it and let our marriage work. Because I would say for sure that we have different lives, deep families, the spouses come from various different backgrounds. And how do you expect to marry those two backgrounds? It's left to individuals to let it work. And that is the way I am saying it matter. God bless you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Soji, for sharing your interesting thoughts there this morning. Even though, like I said, the conversation isn't around marriages that are working right now. It's around a cold hard fact of life that divorces do happen for different reasons, and we don't talk about them. That is the conversation on ground. But I understand your thoughts, and I appreciate you sharing them as well. I'm going to tell a very quick story here. I probably wasn't going to do this before, but hey, why not? So it's a friend of the family's. She's much older than I. Well, not much older, but she's like an older sister kind of. And she was married a couple of years ago or thereabouts. So she and her husband were not in Nigeria. And the guy, good, seemed like a good guy, doctor, responsible, and all that. But deep down, he had demons. He had quite a number of demons. He was abusive, very much so abusive.
I mean, that's not even cool.
Physically, emotionally, and all that. And it seemed, it seemed like everything was fine on the inside until she reached out to her family and said, everything is not fine. This is going on. It took her brothers to leave Nigeria to where they were to go and face him and say, we are taking our sister away from this because we can't let you kill her in another man's life, that kind of thing.
Yes.
And that led to the decision of the marriage eventually and all that. Now that clearly was at the doorstep of the man in question because, like I said, before they got married, it seemed like, oh, this guy is so responsible. He's a doctor, this and that. Nobody knew that deep down he was channeling his inner UFC fighter. Nobody knew that. No one, no one knew. Now, in that instance, the family did not think twice about taking her out of that. Even if she would have said, like some Nigerian women will say, he beats me now and then, but I know he loves me and all that. The family said, no, we are taking you out of this. You cannot. In any case, she wanted to leave. In any case, but I just imagine the sort of things that people would say in that instance, even when they know, it's the man that was the monster in that marriage. Would they still try to blame her?
Actually, they will say, what did you do? What did you do to make him beat you? I've heard that. Like, what did you do to make him beat you? Why did he not beat the conductor he met on the road who did not give him his change? Or the guy that upset him at work? Why was it his wife that he decided to test out his anger on? So I feel like, when he was talking, I actually had a smile on my face if you observed. And I was smiling because it's easy to sound idealistic when you have
Hmm.
not seen the other side of the coin. It's so easy to just sit down somewhere and say, no, why is divorce bad? It should not happen. And I used to be of that opinion, before life showed me. When I was trying to promote this talk today, I wrote about the things that I normally would not talk about, and divorce was one of them. I wouldn't even read about it, but hey, life happened, and then you start to see that, okay, there are actually other sides of the construct. So I feel like it's about being more open-minded, about these conversations. We do not want the hard part of life, but they would happen.
Hmm.
When it does, how do we manage it? Do we pretend like they are not non-existent, or do we have conversations on how people can navigate it better so that we can have less suicide cases, less people losing hope on life because of a challenge that they could survive from?
These are the issues. These are the issues. Now let's talk about something that we really can't separate from the Nigerian society, and that is religion. Yes, we are going the whole hog, the whole 9 yards on this one this morning. Now we know that religion plays a very significant role in shaping attitudes toward divorce in Nigeria. Both major religions in the country emphasize the sanctity of marriage, most definitely. And in many religious communities, divorce is heavily frowned upon. Now the idea of till death do us part often conflicts with realities of toxic or abusive marriages as well. Now, traditional beliefs further complicate this as marriage is seen as a union that strengthens family ties and social standing as well. Now, Aisha, in your journey, did you feel conflicted between your personal decision and the expectations that were set by the religious beliefs,
Of
your religious beliefs?
Yes, I did, definitely. So, I also, like I said before, I had the experience. First of all, I have parents that are still happily married, alhamdulillah. So I do not have a history of it. Yeah, and I
Mm,
didn't know people that were close to me that had experienced divorce. It was just something I heard from, people that were far off.
Right.
So when I got into my marriage and I knew that I had made a mistake, it was hard to even tell anyone, first of all. It was hard to take ownership of it. It was hard to even say, is divorce an option? I'm not even going to go down this route. And then I remembered reading, scriptural text that said, before a woman asks for divorce, it has to be something that was absolutely important. Now, it was not a question of what is considered as
It's really
absolutely
important.
important. What's the absolutely important reason? And this kept me in turmoil for a very long time, actually. And I kept, like I said, I lived that life for a couple of years, but things kept deteriorating, and there was abuse at some point. And the truth of the matter is that there are different levels of abuse. There's emotional abuse, there is physical abuse. So when we talk about abuse, people think that it's only physical. Sometimes emotional is even worse. Do you know what it feels like to live with a narcissist? Do you know what it feels like to live with someone who is passively aggressive? Sometimes you are constantly anxious because you don't know when the shoe is going to drop, when the next anger fit is going to happen. And you cannot tell people to stay in that perpetual state of anxiety. It messes with them.
Right.
And so, yes, I continue to struggle with my, spiritual belief for a while, until I think one day I just, summoned up the courage and went to speak to one of our spiritual leaders and explained what it was that was going on. And I think one of the questions I got asked is that, are you saying that with the things that you have said, you do not have enough grounds? Perhaps you don't really understand what it is. And I actually have absolute respect for him, because there are not many people, especially with what Precious said earlier about the patriarchal society, who would take ownership of it. Even our spiritual leaders would not tell us to, even when they see that your life is at risk, because it feels like, that's not a spiritual thing to say. The spiritual thing to
Mm.
say is, you should be patient. What does patience
Pray
mean?
about it.
And guess what? When this lady stays in that marriage, and I think my decision was made because around that same time, I heard of like two other cases. There was one who ended in fatality, like she's dead as I speak right now. And another one, she was, in a serious, condition in the hospital. And then I knew of yet another one around that same time who had now lost her mind. And I said, okay, sweetheart, you're stepping out. You will do this for you, and you are doing it for the sake of God, and religion is involved as well.
Mm.
So when we say that we're doing something for the sake of religion, what does that mean? Are we saying that, yes, what does that mean? Are we saying that religion expects us to stay in a place and be killed? Is that what religion has preached? And that's not what my religion has preached. So I feel like sometimes it's really important for us to cut the nonsense that we say, and stop giving people the reason to stay in places where their life is at risk. I see people do this all the time, and I just feel really sad that we use religion. We make it sound like it's a chain that chains you to spaces where you have no business being in.
Mm. All right. Thank you for sharing those thoughts, Aisha. I'll get your thoughts, Precious, on the other side of a very quick break. When we come back in, I'll take your thoughts, especially your religious perspective, religious journey, or how things were perceived when you had to walk down this road. And then we'll talk about how we can actually normalize these conversations and let people understand that, I mean, it is not the end of the world when it actually happens. Life will most definitely continue. I mean, it's one who is alive, who is well, sound body, and sound mind that can actually continue to live on this earth. The Lagos Talks on Smooth 98.1. We'll be back on the other side. Let this life finish first before I say what I want to say. I'm saying that previous call.
What is
I said let us end. Let the life go off before I say what I want to say. And I won't say it yet. Because anything I say can and will be used against me in a court of law. So I will not say it yet. But I like how you're just smiling and nodding on that. Because I have been there. I've
Don't
been
worry,
there with that particular person. Yes.
Me too. I used to sit down there. That was where I used to come before.
And then you just wonder, we're talking here. because I have to voice out quick, but I understand, but that's not why we are here.
Thank you for that. I know you're like confused, like what are we talking about?
Yeah.
Oh god. I just have to keep smiling.
All right, welcome back into the final moments on Lagos Talks on Smooth 19. Well, not really final moments, but we are getting ready to get that plane back on the ground and into the hangar. My name is Ayokunmi. Precious Imuwahen Ajoonu is with me, as well as Aishah Adams, two absolutely courageous, amazing ladies who are not afraid to speak their truths and, of course, to break furniture, not just tables, furniture. That is what we are all about. Welcome along. You can still get your thoughts in on WhatsApp on 0809 4440981. Send your messages in, give us a call. You can also call the studio line, which is 0201 4489 981. We've been streaming on YouTube at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Let me take a couple of WhatsApp messages. Ali says every single topic you bring in on Lagos Talks is always a hit, always engaging. Shout out to you guys at Smooth and your amazing guests that you bring on the show. Well done. Thank you, Ali. I mean, if you were on YouTube, you'd see me bowing right now. Like, thank you for the very kind words. I appreciate it. I mean, this is what we're all about, bringing all the value to you each and every single day. Ade says, when there's no freedom of expression in any relationship without the other person scattering the purpose of what is being said, there will be a breakdown of communication, which is a major ingredient of a good relationship. Resentment will creep in, and most times we forget why we are resentful. Activities will begin to go in different directions, and divorce will be inevitable eventually. Right. Thank you for your thoughts, Ade. Dakbo says, two are better than one, for they have a good reward for their labor, and the two shall become one flesh. However, since you are now one, if your right hand offend thee, cut it off, and your left eye causes you to sin, and gouge it out. It is better to go to heaven separately than to suffer both here and consequently missing out on heaven in the hereafter. Preach,
Thank you.
Pastor.
May God bless you.
Dr. further says, sentiment won't get anybody to heaven because the kingdom of God suffereth violence, and the violent taketh by force. Dapo, have you graduated from theology school yet? I, I, I just had to ask that question because he went all biblical on us right there. But hey, it's all good. Cisco Delgado says, be patient when you are already seeing your death clearly on the wall. Okay. That's in reaction to when religious leaders talk and say be patient. When you know this person is going to be the death of me, either the man or the woman. When you can see clearly that this person is after my life, and you tell me to be patient and pray about it.
Yes.
Let's be guided, please. But anyways, like I said, Precious, I was going to get your thoughts on the religious aspect of this journey. Really, like Aisha mentioned earlier on. I mean, how did these religious or these traditional beliefs influence the way people around you actually reacted to your decision to get divorced?
Absolutely. The day I left my marriage on my birthday, never to be forgotten,
On your
January 15,
birthday.
2021, I left on my birthday, and now my birthday is my freedom day because it was a toxic marriage, to be honest. And the day I left, the priest that wedded us showed up, came all the way from Lagos and came to my parents' house and started to quote the scripture to me as to why I shouldn't have left, that I should have stayed on. The Bible says this, that, because we're Catholics. And in Catholicism, divorce is not permissible. He thought I didn't have, even though, of course, domestic violence was involved, even though, of course, there was a lot of untruth, even though, of course, there was even a case of practicing a religion that I didn't subscribe to, even though, of course, there was all sorts of, manipulation involved. The priest kept continued to say that I should have made it work. But because I don't take things lightly, and before I got married, I had no intentions of having a divorce. In fact, let me tell you now and put it on record, I didn't do a court wedding. Do you know why? When we're going to, because my ex said we should do a court wedding, a friend of mine said, oh, it was important for us to do a court wedding in case we divorce so that I will have access to properties, etc. And because of that, I went back to my ex and I said, no, we're not doing a court wedding. And this is why people do it. And because I really need us to be on a foundation that is forever, we're only going to do the Catholic marriage. He wasn't Catholic, and bless him, he decided to be Catholic just so that we can marry. And I said that this is what we would do because we are married for life. So even when the abuse happened in 2018, I came back to my home because I didn't want my children to grow up from a broken home. It didn't matter that my head was used to bring down a wardrobe. It didn't matter that
Oh
I was
wow.
almost hallucinating because I was in a lot of pain. It didn't matter that I was shaking nonstop and almost convulsing. I just needed to keep my marriage. But I say it all the time. When I left in 2021, I left because of my children. My then baby, my daughter came to me one day when the father and I had an argument. He was driving like he wanted to drive us into a truck. It was a very toxic thing going on. And I kept begging this man so that it doesn't end our lives that day. And in all my tears, my daughter said to me that, Mama, when would you learn to stand up for yourself? And if you know anything about me,
And that's a
I
two-year-old.
have, she was maybe 5 at the
Oh,
time,
okay.
when she
Okay.
said this to me. But I was thinking to myself, like, my daughter is one of these spirit beings that reminds me of myself. If you know me, Aisha has known me long enough. I am a very strong personality, and I make no apologies
Of
anymore for
course.
that. And I went from being a strong personality, and then you just have someone who is chipping on it, you
Mm-hmm.
know, blaming you for being yourself,
Mm,
worried that you are too much, you're taking up space,
mm,
you're doing, and make you please the person. And that's why I've said, never again am I going to be in that kind of situation. Never again. If you cannot stand with me in my life, boy, bye, please, go somewhere else. I don't want you. I'm not going to minimize anything to accommodate anybody. I'm sorry. So for me, it was all those conversations. But like I like to say to myself, my divorce helped me deepen my relationship with God. I feel that I stopped going to church, obviously, because I didn't feel safe there. I stopped going. But one of the things that I realized was that God never left me. So I went from just knowing God from a church and human beings perspective to knowing Him for myself. I mean, God never left me, never left my children. I left with nothing. Like I literally left that house fleeing for my life. And when I say I left with nothing, sometimes people cannot comprehend it. Oh, you didn't take your clothes, you didn't take, and I don't have time to debate the issues. The people who know me know exactly what it was that happened. But guess what? I found mercy. I found love. Everybody wanted to support me. The people that we met, my children and I were able to, I mean, with no financial support from, the other partner, for whatever reasons best known to him, we were still able to survive, not just survive and thrive. And of course, I got myself into therapy because I needed to be a well mommy so that I can take care of my children.
Mm.
And as I deepened my relationship with divinity, I realized that it is man's construct. Like if God didn't abandon me or my children, if God didn't strike us down, for saving our own lives, who is anybody? And
yeah.
respectfully, even if you are a priest, to tell me that this is what my Bible says. No, you're not God over my life. And you know what's interesting? Over 4 years down the line, people use me as a reference point. So you find that even in my parents' church, and so when people want to leave, I don't know if this is a good or bad thing. They see me because, that's why I say, like, I'm very happily divorced. When I was married, I was happily married. Now that I'm divorced, I'm happily divorced. And I
Mm.
feel like representation matters.
Yeah.
Women need to also see that it is possible for you to, live a life. I mean, I've done my work. I've forgiven my ex, whether he asks of it or not. If you call him on this radio show, I'm sure he has his own version of what happened. Well, and I've let all of that go. I mean, I'm happy for him to continue to live his life, but I'm just grateful for a God that does not fit into human constructs.
Yes.
Mm.
I'm grateful for the knowledge of God for myself. I'm
Yes.
grateful for the incredible hand of God upon my life and my children. I do not believe predictions that do not empower me. I don't care the Bible chapter somebody wants to come and preach to me. In my own lived experience, God loves me. I mean, how do you explain my life? It's an unbelievable miracle. How do you explain my children's life? People say, oh, children from divorce, blah, blah,
Mm-hmm.
blah. My was valedictorian. So some of the smartest and kindest children that you would ever meet. So for me, God loves us, and I can't take credit. I
Yes.
can't take credit for all the miracles that have been happening in our lives. So it is God. So if God didn't love us, explain how I'm so blessed. And that's
Mm.
why I'm so anti when people weaponize religion to keep people in abusive relationships. I mean,
Yes.
look at what if I died? What if I didn't exist? So yeah, God loves us. That's my message.
Like, the
God loves it.
painful part, let me just add this. The painful part is that when you stay in those kind of relationships, I've been on social media when, the death of someone who stayed in an abusive marriage had been talked about. And the same people who will tell you, why did you leave, will come back and say, oh, why didn't she
Absolutely.
ask for help? Why didn't she leave?
Absolutely.
Why are you speaking
Yeah.
from all sides of your mouth? Make up your mind.
Oh goodness gracious. Man, we need to pause right here. I mean, that's just deep breath. Final break this morning, and we'll round up the conversation on the other side. Don't go anywhere.
Ah, Precious, you need a hug for that.
I know. I
Preach.
know. I know.
You need a hug for what
I
you just
know.
did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Because it's nonsense, isn't it? And
yes.
people die, people go through all of these, and for what? For what really?
Like, I have been on post where someone died from abuse and go and just read the comments. The same people who will come and stigmatize you
They will
will be
blame you.
there.
Yeah. They
Oh
will blame
God.
Why didn't she
Why did she
go?
not
Why did she
go?
Why didn't
leave?
she
Yeah,
leave?
they'll
Didn't
not be
she
like,
know?
it's money that
Me,
made
I
her
left
stay.
to
They'll
save
start
my
to say
head.
all kinds
No
of
shame.
things. Nonsense. And you're still the one shaming. You shame her, you blame her, you make her life miserable. Then you come back and say, I beg, all of us will be okay. Stop using. If you want to stay in it and I be married, please be there, but don't use that on me and tell me why I should be somewhere that my life is at risk.
Ah, that's a risk, is exactly because I mean, I don't think anything should justify. It's like saying, oh, you're in the middle of the road, the car is coming,
And you say stay
speeding
there.
down, and you're saying, oh,
Have faith.
have faith, just pray
The
about it.
car will not hit
The
you.
car will not hit you. I don't think even from a biblical point of view or a Quranic point of view, I don't
Even for
think.
a man, there are men that are in abusive marriages and they'll
Yes,
stay there because he has to be a man. How
yes,
can you
now.
tell anyone that your wife is abusing you? Okay, you tell. What happens? Will the world come to an end? Ah, I beg. Stop trying to justify nonsense.
Okay, when we have like 2 minutes max to finish this. 2 minutes, like a minute. Anyways, I think I'll just take a little bit of leeway, just a little
Time.
bit, just a very little bit. All right, final moments on Lagos Talks this Tuesday morning on Smooth 98.1. It has been quite a conversation this morning with my guests, Aisha Adams and Precious Imuwahen Ajoonu. We have been talking about the cultural stigma surrounding divorce, especially from a Nigerian perspective, and we really got to pack it up. But before we go, hey, I just need to put this out there and ask you this question, Aisha, and I hope you can answer this in about 30 seconds or less.
I'll try.
Anyways, I mean, what advice would you give to individuals who are currently experiencing these marital challenges? I mean, the men, the women, both from both parties. It's not all, oh, only women are going through issues. Even men.
Yeah,
In fact,
yeah.
I think men go through a lot of things, but they cannot even think
Talk
about
about it.
speaking. They can't even think of speaking because you know what comes out, what comes there.
Mhm.
Be a man, you're a man, this and all. But story for
Mhm.
another day. I mean, so what would you say to those individuals who are going through these things, who are going through a lot of serious issues that probably could be life threatening or life ending at the end of the day, but they are too afraid to consider going down the road of divorce because of societal judgment?
Number one, think about your life, prioritize yourself because at the end of the day, you only have yourself, whether you're alive or dead. So, put yourself, like, prioritize yourself. Number two is that find a support system, find someone that's a confidant, someone, or more importantly, reach out to a therapist or a coach, in that space to guide you, to be like your anchor. Because professional help usually will not have sentiments, attached. They know what their job is, and so they are there for you professionally. And number three, it will be that, think about the people that love you as well,
Hmm.
who would cry over you. I think sometimes when I was making those decisions, like Precious said earlier, she made the decision for her kids. I made the decision for my kids too. I looked at my children and I said, what kind of life do I want for them? When I talk about my parents' marriage, I can happily say that my father has never assaulted my mother, ever, and so in my head, I'm thinking, how did I end up here? I don't have a forerunner who did this. This cannot be my reality.
Mm.
And so remember those children, and remember that the statistics has shown that children who come from abusive marriages have the tendency to also become abusive. Do you want your children to be part of the statistics? If you stay in those places, because you're telling them that that is normal and that's what they should emulate. And lastly, how do you want your life to be? What kind of life do you want? If this is not the life you want, then you can change it. You're not a tree.
Mm, you are not a tree. Okay, Precious. Also, in about 30 seconds or less, I mean, how can we start to normalize these conversations and, make them less, should I say, scary, as it were?
I'm sorry, I missed that, Ayo. Can you just quickly take it again?
Yeah, I said, how can we begin to normalize these conversations and make them less scary than they actually are?
I think it's by doing the things that we're doing now, like just talking about it really. I am very pro the two sides of the divide speaking. We're not trying to create a matriarchal world, you replace patriarchy with matriarchy. No, I believe that nature honors balance. I believe that, as a mom of both a male child and a female child, I believe that they both serve. So for me, it's how do we have this honest conversation? The template for marriage handed down to us by our parents is no more working. We've had in times past where people would say, "Oh, my mom took it. My father used to abuse her. She didn't complain. Who are you? Because you are educated, blah blah blah, to take it." But the truth of the matter is, did your mom like being abused? What kind of person did you go into? And you find that people just repeat these circles. It's not normal to want to raise your hand on an adult. It's not normal behavior. No
Mm.
matter the provocation, you should leave. It's not normal to continue to raise children who are terrified. I had a conversation with a woman today whose husband trying to hit her head on the wall, mistakenly put the child's head on the wall, and the child had internal bleeding. What's going on? We need to stop that. And when you
Right.
see these people, they look like normal people. So for me, it's to say, let's have these conversations. Let's get in therapy. I'm not perfect. If there are things about yourself that you need to work on them. And please, please, please stop being in a hurry, especially single moms, to land any guy. You are okay
Yes.
all by yourself. You can be single, you're not going to die. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Precious and Aisha, for joining me this morning. We really got to go. It's been a pleasure having you on the show this morning. We'll have more of these conversations in the coming weeks, and of course, should I say, break a bit more furniture. Thank you for your messages as well, and keeping in tune to Smooth 98.1. Ayokunmi right here. Keep it tuned. The Smooth Breakfast will continue more great music on a Tuesday morning.
Precious, that was a beautiful end.
You can be single. It's not a death sentence.
Like,
It's not. It's not. I haven't died. I'm single. Like the woman, like the man is abusing the children.
subhanallah. You see my mouth, like I couldn't help it.